Hello, everyone, and welcome to Abnormal Investigations. It is the second night of the weekend, guys. Can you believe it? And we have another live tomorrow night, which will be on our other show, Wide Open Adventures. So, Abnormal for 2 nights, Wide Open on Monday night should be a good one. Got a little surprise for Wide Open, too. We'll talk about that a little bit later. It's the same kind of surprise we're going to be doing on this show. I think a lot of you are going to really like it. Oh, man. We got a great breakdown tonight for those of you who are liking the breakdowns. I tried to send it to Jessie to get her to go outside and read the breakdown out in the woods, but she wouldn't do it. So maybe we can get Randy to do it next time. We'll get him to go sit with the werewolves and read us a breakdown about them. I doubt he'll do that, but Randy's going to end up coming to Northeast Oklahoma if I don't stop. I hope everybody's having a great day today. Okay, can't hear me. Let me see here.
I can hear.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Your treetop. I'm going to bring Randy in here real quick. Hello, Randy.
Hello, guys. Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you. I'm assuming you can hear me since you're answering me, not just reading my lips.
Yeah, I can. I can lift a little bit, but not well enough to read the whole conversation. You know, I can pick up a few words here and
there. Yeah. Oh man, that'd be. Yeah. Tim Wrestler, thank you so very much for that super chat. God bless you for that. We appreciate that very much. They're not expected, but they are appreciated. So, what have you all been up to today?
Nothing. Sunday. Nothing. It's Bum Day Sunday.
Just
pretty
chilling.
much what I've been doing. Chilling like a villain.
Hey, you know, this weather's been crazy. It'll be warm one day, then freezing cold the next. It's like Oklahoma. Don't like the weather, give it a day. It'll change.
Man,
I'm excited. I just found out it's going to be 70 degrees here tomorrow, or close to 70 degrees. Woohoo!
I'm excited because we're supposed to hit 80 this week, and that is going to get the sand bass running. That's what I'm ready for. I'm excited for that. I'm sure Josh will be excited for that on the Monday show tomorrow night, on our show tomorrow night, I guess. So I want to talk about Chris Cyrus for a second. We had him on the show last night. Very intelligent young man. And he wrote a very nice thing about us. It's over on the Abnormal page if everybody would like to go take a look at it and say hey to him. We really appreciate that. I spoke with Mr. Blake today, and he is going to be coming in on our live show in April. Our March right now is booked. We are totally booked with everything coming up. I don't think we could even put something else in March. I know the 19th of March, we're going to be going on OCST's show, and we still have coming up in this month to get out and done. As always, guys, this breakdown will be released on Spotify after the show, if that's how you enjoy listening to us. If you would rather not look at us, which some people say it makes them sick to look at us, so you never know. You might just want to hear our voice. But we must be doing something right, guys, because since our numbers are up, our subscribers are up and everything, the attacks have started again. So
of course,
I can always tell when I'm doing good. You know, we get attacked every time the numbers go up. They go to their little jealousy smear campaigns, and I don't know, mommy issues. I'm not sure. Kind of reminds me of the show, you know, that I can't remember the name of the show. We ain't going to go there, but yeah, it started again today, and it's just funny that they just cannot stand to watch somebody that's successful in life. It really bothers them. And it bothers them whenever they can't control the narrative. But that's what a narcissist does. They get mad whenever they can't control the narrative. And they lie and cause everybody else to lie to benefit their cause, and it's a sad, sad world. Um, do we have anything else that we want to say tonight? Anything of importance? I don't think we have any more announcements. I pray that Lisa's feeling better. Do y'all
Just
have
gonna say,
anything?
I was just gonna say, pray for Lisa Ann. Yeah, she's still not feeling the best. So prayers for her.
Man, I understand, because whenever we got that virus that went around, they called it influenza A, and I call it something else. But
Mm-hmm.
that'll be on the Patreon coming up. We're going to be recording. You know, me and my mom and everybody, we still have the cough, still all this time, and it's like it'll come on and go away, come on and go away. You know, so it's crazy. That's
Yeah.
right, Latricia. We love the trolls. They do help with the algorithm. They are beneficial in some ways.
Mhm.
You're right. Let's do a quick roll call. I got reminded the other night by one of our viewers that we don't do roll call no more, and I told him Randy said to stop. So we're going to start doing it again. I had to blame that one
It's
on Randy.
Randy's fault this time.
I believe the people visiting like the interaction between us and them. You know, giving them acknowledgement that they're here. I think it's good for PR, public relations.
Oh, definitely. We got the Wolf Lady in here tonight. We got, of course, Randy Petticourt in here tonight, co-hosting and moderating. We got Carla Washington in here tonight. Good to see you, Carla. The chat's moving a little faster tonight than what I was used to, because last night it was slowed. I didn't slow it tonight. I think yesterday it was too slow.
Yeah.
But we got Belinda. We got Thomas in here. Margie's in here. Pink Pixie's in here moderating. I know Sharon Guy's in here moderating. I don't know how she does everything she does. Guys, we got a little special something we're going to do in the show tonight, and I'll let y'all know as we probably get about halfway through the encounter, maybe, or 3/4, or maybe the end. I'm not sure yet when we're going to do it, but we will be doing that tonight. Good to see you, Janny. Janny, the Wonder Woman's in here tonight. Romans 1:16 Blessed is in here tonight. So a lot of familiar faces. I have not seen Silver Bullet. I've been asked if Silver Bullet's in here. There is Crazy for Jim is in here tonight. So we got a lot of familiar faces in here tonight. I would throw everybody up, but my chat's running so fast it's hard for me to chase everybody down. But we'll do the best we can throughout the show to throw up. And a new thing that's happening, and moderators, please remind the people that will come in later to the show, if you have a question, put it in capital letters. Jessie will try to catch it, and she has a way to save your question, and we will get to those at the end of the show. So
Yep.
that way we don't miss any questions. She has a way to copy them. So we'll do OCST's joining us tonight. Good to see you, Harold, and I'm assuming Christy's with you, unless she hops in on her own page. You know, you never know about her. They call her little, I think Jiffy Pop is what they're calling her now. But it's good to see them joining us tonight.
Silver Bullet is in the house.
Silver Bullet.
Hello, Silver Bullet.
Silver Bullet is in the house, Randy said. Finally, I think Silver Bullet finally decided to join us. And don't forget, everybody, Wednesday night.
He wasn't Scooby Snack.
That's right. She's
Sorry,
not
Mike.
a Scooby Snack for sure. It wouldn't want her. She's too mean. He'd bring her back. He'd be like, nope. Don't forget, Wednesday night, guys, we will be back, boots on the ground. I will be back out, boots on the ground. It is finally here. I know a lot of you have been asking for it. This Wednesday night, 8:00 p.m. Central Daylight Time, I will be boots on the ground. We will be back at our first investigation on the ground in quite some time, since my tires were cut and we were sabotaged by those little trolls. But we're back out, and we'll be back out Wednesday night, so it should be a good night. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a family that's living with a dog man. That got Randy's attention. I knew it would. Yeah, they're living with a Dogman, and it's a pretty intriguing story. We'll stop every so far, and we'll discuss as we usually do, and we'll try to see if Randy and Jesse can guess what's going to happen at the end of the story. That's what I like seeing, is if how good their investigative skills are, how close they can get, and if they can solve the mystery before we get to the end. But I like doing it. I think it's a fun time.
My guess is somebody did something stupid to piss them off, and now they're having to deal with the consequences.
Is that your final answer?
That's my best guess before we start here. We'll see how the data plays. The data, see the data shows that.
Ever since, guys, we've done the breakdowns, I've had several people call me now that I have to interview. I have 10 interviews on the back burner right now of people wanting to get their shows over here. And I feel a little privileged because they were going to share them with other shows, and they decided to share them with us because they thought we do a better job. So ha ha ha. But yeah, they are they are sharing them with us, and we do appreciate that. You're not going to want to miss the 15th show either, Latricia. It's going to be a deep show. The Foreman brothers was at her house, so there's a lot to go over in that show. That's going to probably be a little lengthy. That will be a little longer show probably than normal because there's so much evidence to go over. There's my questions, and then I want to go over some things that the Foreman brothers recommended, what they found, and break some of that down. Hopefully I don't step on toes, but we're going to look at a few different things and compare notes. So y'all ready to get on with this breakdown?
Let's go.
Randy takes off. Nope, there he is. I thought he disappeared. Randy's performing magic. All right. The date of this incident happened March 11th, 2021. The times that this incident would occur were numerous times: evening, morning, and daytime. The location of this area, they did not want to, of course, give their address, but it is a remote area in Colorado. So we're talking about Colorado right now. It is at the residence of only first names only of Bill, Brenda, and their son, Dusty. Bill is a father of 40 years old. He is a hunter and trapper all of his life. Brenda is a homemaker. She is a mother of 38 years old. And little Dusty, he is their son at a big double digit 10 years old. They all live in the remote area of Colorado, and it's a beautiful place from the way they explained it. They live in a cabin like house. It is nestled in a valley between a ridge and some mountains. So can you imagine how beautiful that is? Thank you for that, Randy. God bless you.
I lived in Colorado, so I know how beautiful Colorado is.
He said it's absolutely beautiful.
I bet. Mm-hmm.
I told him I was jealous. I was really jealous. Couple to talk to. They said, we enjoy living in our home in the remote area. We have horses. We have a few animals. Bill has always been an avid hunter and trapper. Dusty enjoys spending time in the home playing with his mom, playing games, and taking care of his little animals that he has on the farm. He has friends that come to visit him from the nearby town because he is homeschooled. Excuse me. But in his homeschooling, he is, he has interaction on the computer with the students in his class, and he's made a lot of friends, and they come visit. So Dusty is living his best life. He actually has animals that he's responsible for. So she said she believes in teaching responsibility at an early age. So pretty awesome. If you watch Wide Open Adventures, you'll see what I'm getting ready to buy the family and for Hunter. It's going to be amazing. Incident witness statements that I took. Like Kaylee's walking through here now. She's been a little rude right now. Everybody say Kaylee's rude in the chat.
Tell everybody said hi when you.
Randy said to tell you hi. Bill made a statement to me at the beginning of our interview. Bill said we enjoyed raising our animals, and I would run the trap line and do a lot of hunting. We would make a lot of our extra money off of the furs that I would get from the trapping, which would also help, make meat for the family that would help. I know these mountains very well. I have always felt at home in the woods. I had no idea that things like this even could exist. I would have laughed at you a year ago if you would have told me that these things were real. I would have told you you have an overactive imagination, that these things only exist in Hollywood movies. Okay.
That's so laughable.
So Brenda comes in and she's like, we have never been afraid up here. This place has always been home and our safe place. I mean, sometimes even when we went to bed at night, we wouldn't even bother locking the doors or closing the windows. There was times we would go sit out on the deck and have coffee at all hours of the night, having a little snack. Who would have ever thought that sitting on your deck, having a cup of coffee with a Crustable, that you could end up something's dinner? Mike, we had seen your show come through our feed several times. And me and Bill, I will admit, used to laugh and say, why do these people believe these creatures exist? We have lived in the mountains all of our lives and have never once even heard anything that scared us. But Mike, I want to apologize to you formally. These things exist. Oh, do they exist? So they became believers really, really fast over some things that had happened. Margie Burke, thank you for that. God bless you for that donation. They pretty much, when I was talking to them, said that their home was their refuge. They wasn't afraid to go anywhere out there. I mean, they would go outside at all hours of the night. They said it was nothing to send Dusty out to the car, in the middle of the night to grab something. They never had any fears of anything out there. And she said one of their favorite things to do, and she was joking, but she was like, you need to tell your audience, if you have not had a good cup of coffee and a Crustable, you don't know what you're missing out on. But she said, we have now decided to have the Crustables in the house at the table at night instead of out on the deck. There was a lot of different things in this encounter that happened that I was totally intrigued. It's a very interesting encounter, and I believe y'all are really going to enjoy this one tonight. I think it's a good one. I'm going to say that. It was, when I fielded this, I was very excited to take this. On the incident details, guys, in my report, I do a report on everybody that I take. I do it just like I said, like I'm going to prepare it, if it goes to court. So I try to at least break it down to where it makes sense to everybody. On one of the incident details, Bill was actually one of the first to have somewhat of the encounter. Bill says, I was outside and it was late in the evening. I was a little late feeding the chickens. And that is when I first heard something that was off. It was a howl, or I guess you could call it that. It was almost like a man was trying to howl with a weird sounding howl. And it lasted way longer than any man could ever howl, in my opinion. And it was totally off. I've hunted and trapped all my life, and I've lived in the mountains with my dad, and now, I'm almost 40 years old. This howl that I heard was so off that I even questioned, what is going on? What is that? And as I was sitting there trying to figure out what this noise is, a hoot owl begins to hoot back at the howl. But the hoot owl, he said, doesn't sound like a hoot owl. The hoot owl even sounds off too. So he said, my first thought was, and I kind of laughed to myself, did I take my blood pressure medication? Am I hearing things, or is this really happening? He said, because they were so off and it was so weird. He says, I walked out of the chicken house after feeding the chickens, and I've still got on my mind, what in the hell did I just hear? What is this? So he says, I walk out and I looked up on the mountain, and there's a ridge that sticks out above them on the mountain. They're in a valley. And he says, I couldn't see anything, but what I did notice was a small light. Yes, Mike, some of your viewers would probably call it an orb, but to me, it was almost like a lantern out on the edge of this ridge. I figured it was just some campers, and I ignored it because a lot of campers move through these mountains, and they will pick the ridges to camp on for Colorado's beautiful scenery. Brenda stated during the same time that he was outside feeding the chickens and this occurred, I also heard the howl from inside in the kitchen. While making Dusty a snack, Dusty even got scared, and the look on his face for a second told me that he was about to cry. So I looked at Dusty and I told him, it's just something up on the mountain. It's probably just a wild coyote that is lonely, trying to call some of his friends in or to call the others to a kill. Coyotes, she said, are known to make howls to call the other members to a fresh kill to be able to eat. Bill later stated, later that night we were laying in bed and Brenda asked me about the howl. I told her I thought it was off. I told her I would check on it in the morning, and probably it was the campers that I'd seen up on the hill, and hopefully they would move on in just a few days. So right now, what I'm kind of, what they're doing makes sense to me because you see this a lot in these encounters. People make excuses for things that they hear that their gut is already telling them is not normal, you know. And him living in the mountains as long as he has and in the same area, hearing two things that is off, I think would really draw my attention. What do you all think?
Well, yeah, it's off. And I mean, even like when I'm out, even just like this last weekend when I was out, yeah, there was stuff that didn't seem right, but sometimes you just aren't sure. And yeah, you try and rationalize stuff. Yeah, I understand.
When you live in an
Did you ever do
area,
that, Randy? Did you ever? Yeah, go ahead.
when you live in an area, you get used to the noises or the sounds around you, and when you start hearing something that doesn't sound normal, if you pay attention to your surroundings, you're gonna definitely notice that that doesn't sound normal. There's a huge difference between a coyote howling and we're just going to call it something else. You can tell the difference if it's a coyote or if it's something else, maybe trying to mimic a coyote howl or yap or whatever you want to call it. You can definitely tell the difference. And if you're paying attention, you're gonna notice that. But your
Sure.
brain, just like Jesse said, is going to rationalize it off as it's nothing to worry about. It's probably no big deal. Which if you do stuff like that, that is not a good thing to do because it can literally put your life in danger. Got to pay attention to what's going on around you at all times. My opinion.
I believe so. Also, uh, you know, I think that we try to rationalize sounds to give ourselves a sense of calm and peace, and especially around our home because our home is supposed to be our safe place. And
Hmm.
I think a lot of us don't want to admit that our home cannot be that safe place that we want it to be, that these things can actually come to our home, like Jerome, and things can always follow you. So our homes are not always that refuge or that safe place that we want them to be. I've had things hitchhike and follow me home, and I think I had one down around my old house the other night when I went boots on the ground down there. It's gone now, but they will follow you home. The hitchhiker effect. That is, I believe, what most people like to call it. I like to call it something a little bit different. I like to call it an attachment or an imprint on somebody. And the reason I call it that is because it ain't like they just hitchhike a ride home with you. It's like they either imprint or attach to one individual particularly and make it worse for that one person. I mean, everybody pays a price, but it always seems like it's one person it's mostly interested in, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, moving on. Unless y'all have something you want to add before we take off.
Nope.
Bill says the next morning I was up late. Up late. He was up early. He said I was up early the next morning and I was feeding when I noticed a man standing up on the ridge. He was just standing there staring at me. The first thing I thought is that it was a trapper just like me. And the reason that I thought it was a trapper is because I could see the fur on his fur coat blow in the wind. It was almost looked like a bear's pelt with the head and paws and everything left on it, because I could see the snout of the fur that he was wearing. A lot of fur bearers up here will wear the pelts because they will swear even to this day that they are warmer than any coat that you can buy. Bill continued to state that, so, not to be rude, I waved large so he could see that I was waving at him, hoping to make a peaceful gesture. He did a weird wave back at me, almost like his shoulders were not moving right, maybe, like they were stiff or something. Not right, something was off. And then he turned and he walked over the ridge out of sight. I then walked over to finish feeding the chickens. And this was the first time I felt something was really off. Something I felt was really wrong. There was a footprint in the mud, not just any footprint. This one was large, and what really caught my attention was the long toenails that were in the mud also. I knew in that moment. And being a trapper, this was not a normal animal I had ever seen, and it was no human. I couldn't even begin to guess what it was at first. So I went and got a tape measure and decided to measure the print. I took measurements of the print. It was 18.25 inches long, and the widest spot on its foot was 9.75 inches in width. This is a huge print, and the depth it sunk, it was to be very heavy. And there were 6 toes.
Hmm.
6?
6 toes.
Probably not human.
Yeah.
Well,
Unless somebody from the hills have eyes.
There you go.
Go ahead. I know you got something to say now, Jesse.
it's just 6 toes. That's okay.
Abnormal.
Yes, abnormally abnormal. Yes.
So do you all think that he made a mistake by waving at the creature? Or the person, whatever he's thinking this is? Should he have waved at it, seeing it up there on the ridge? Should he have been friendly?
Can I give my opinion? By acknowledging those things and waving at it, that was an open doorway for them
Sure.
to come and affect their life, is my best guess based on the information. Because he wasn't having issues prior to that event, looking at the data, just looking at the data. There's a cause and effect. If you see these creatures, it's best to act like they don't exist. Rebuke them and walk away, but don't turn your back to them. Back away slowly. Don't take your eyes off of them. And whatever you do not show fear, or you might die. They might kill you and eat you if you show fear around these creatures. You must not fear.
So if you see a human type person in the distance and you're not quite sure and you're like, hey, what's going on? I mean, how are you supposed to know from such a distance, especially if they turn and kind of wave back? I mean, no other animal does that. No other animal waves.
There's no way to tell, but if you're out and about like that, you got to remember, be careful who you wave at, because it might not be human.
Right. And do you think maybe the reason he waved also is him being a trapper, that you run into other trappers up there and you want to be like courteous to one another because you help each other out? You know, one of you gets hurt or injured or something, you would hope that the other one, you know, would come and help you. So maybe they tried to keep that relationship. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Could be.
Could be. I agree.
So Bill says after he found the footprint and he measured the footprint, this is where we do, I think, as humans, what we do. But he says, I started thinking maybe it was a double bear print. Maybe it was a double print. That made more sense to me. And that, you know, that is what I called it in my mind. Because a lot of times animals can double print and make prints look like something they're not. So I finished doing my chores. Brenda stated during the phone conversation, she said, I had been baking all day and had it in the kitchen window. It was just beginning to get dark, and I heard what sounded like heavy breathing at the kitchen window. I got to thinking, has my fresh blueberry pie brought something to the window? Bill had just come in and was changing into his nightwear back in the bedroom. I felt very watched, and I could smell this sickening odor. I closed the window and I locked it. I told Bill about it, and he told me, you can't leave food out like that, and you know it. This is the country. This is where the wild animals are at, and these animals will come up here to find food if they smell it. Bill and Brenda went to bed after they had got done eating their dinner and everything. And that night when we went to bed, we heard howling again. Bill and Brenda stated, they both said that. It sounded closer, and it sounded more like a man trying to be crazy, like a man was having fun or trying to sound like Halloween or something, like he was just trying to be funny. It was hard to explain. Bill got up and he did grab his rifle. He then turned on the outside floodlights around our home. We have floodlights around every corner of our home. We're able to light up the whole area. We do this because of bear and moose mostly, but it came in handy tonight. He even turned on the outside floodlight that we have up on a large pole that lights a perimeter around our house at about 100 feet. Brenda then stated the next day, I was in the kitchen. I had got up early and I was preparing lunch. We prepare our meals ahead of time because we have a lot of outside chores we do. When I noticed the kitchen window was opened, I walked over and I looked and I noticed that the lock on top of it was gone. It was bent. The window was cracked and the pie was gone and the lock was laying in my sink. It had been popped off. Brenda explained to Bill what had happened, and he said, I think I know who it is. Bill is thinking he knows who's doing this. Bill says what he was thinking had happened is that she had put the pie in the window, and because she had placed the pie in the window, she had caught the attention of a bear, is what he thought had happened. And he thought that she had probably forgot to lock the window, and because the bear had ripped the window open, it broke the lock. And we're making, he said, we're making more explanations because we don't believe in this shit, is what he said.
Yep.
This is not supposed to exist.
Yeah.
It's a bear. It's something that makes sense, right? So Bill does his chores, he said, all day that day. Nothing happens. It's a normal day, doing these chores. Everything's good. And then Bill stated, we was in bed that night, laying there, just resting. And Dusty came walking into the bedroom. He didn't seem mad, but he seemed confused. Brenda, I had noticed when I rolled over, had already fallen asleep. And he said, Dad, there's a big dog clawing at my window. It was trying to get in. He says, I got up and went to his room, not thinking there was going to be anything there, maybe a bear at the window because the pie incident. When I got in there, I did hear scratching, but it stopped when I entered the room. It seemed to be scratching at Dusty's window.
Mm-mm.
So anything y'all want to add yet?
I don't
Like
know.
somebody, like, go ahead.
No,
Yes.
go ahead.
Like Shirley said, maybe it likes pies. Something's got a sweet tooth. And this time it wasn't the bear.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jess.
Uh, yeah, but well, just so that it escalated really quickly. It went right. I mean, went from seeing it outside to now it's going after the child. That's it's unsettling.
Critters got to eat.
Mm, I
It's kind of like
yeah.
they focus on the children,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know,
Because they're easy Scooby snacks for them.
Yeah.
and they're easier
You
to
know,
carry,
I like
easier to abduct.
baby back ribs. Those are delicious. You know, I'm sure it's probably the same way with them with their children.
Oh my
They look
gosh.
at those delicacies, tainty delicacies that they love to eat.
Well, I think just like Don said, they're weaker of the bunch. They're easier prey. They're more kids are more curious about things, more apt to
Easier,
unlock the door. I mean, I don't know how many times
easier.
I've seen tests or videos where parents are testing their kids, going, "Oh, my kid would never talk to a stranger." And then a stranger walks up and they just take their hand and walk away. Oh, you have a puppy in the van? Oh, you got candy? You think that, you teach your kids one thing, but they're naturally curious, and keep your kids close.
And one thing about children also is children are very manipulative at that age, and especially from an adult. So they're very easily persuaded into believing things, true or not true, by
Oh,
an adult because they're taught to trust the adults or they don't have any other choice but to trust the adult.
100% true.
Agree.
It's unfortunate.
So Bill went in and he told Brenda, you know, the next morning when she woke up, they woke up in the bed and he said, I told her, hey, Dusty came in here last night and he said there was a large wolf at his window and it was scratching, trying to get in and everything. And I went and looked and I did hear the scratching, but I didn't see anything. But I think you have lured a bear up here, Brenda, with your pie.
Mm.
So now we got a bear problem. We're going to have to get rid of this bear. So Brenda asked me, would you please go outside today and check around the house and make sure everything's okay so we know we're safe, make sure Dusty's safe, And he said, absolutely. He said, I want my family to feel safe first and foremost. This is our home. This is our castle. This is where we're supposed to feel safe. Bill said, I went out and I checked the kitchen window first. I wanted to see, you know, the kitchen window. I figured it had been, just opened and the pie still on. But I was amazed whenever I got to the kitchen window. There was deep scratches in the wood around the window, like it has been pried open. The scratches were deeper than most bears, and there was 5 scratch marks with what appeared to be an opposable thumb mark. I'm counting 6 fingers. The first thing that pops into my mind, 6 toes, 6 fingers? What the hell is this? But then I figure out and get to thinking to myself, maybe if one of the campers had snuck down the mountain and smelt the pie and decided to steal it, maybe they had put one hand over the other to get leverage to pry the window open, and they had used some kind of a tool and thought it would be funny to take our pie. So then I decided I needed to go check Dusty's window. Whenever I went to Dusty's window, it had the same scratches around it, but the window was still secured. But whatever it was smart enough that it was tearing the wood away from the window to where it could get in to pry the window.
Not good.
So I went to the hardware store, bought some wood, replaced it. Instead of using nails this time, I used long 16-inch screws to make sure that his window was secured. I bought a new lock and had the window replaced in the kitchen window and replaced it, secured it so we would be able to lock it. Bill then stated to me, he said, I'm starting to get concerned about the family. Whatever is doing this is getting bolder, and I'm noticing that it's getting bolder. So I'm going to have to take some extra precautions, I'm thinking to myself, to protect my family. And then that's whenever Brenda stated, I'm scared. I don't know what's going on, but I don't like it. And I asked him, can we please just leave for a little while until all this blows over? Can we go stay with relatives? Can we get out of here? And all this time, they have never even felt scared at their house. This has been their sanctuary. This is where they've lived. This is home. And now, Bill says for the first time, Brenda wants to leave. And he said, the man part of me starts coming out that I'm not able to give my family a safe home. And I'm like, no, I'm going to take care of this. We're not going anywhere. We're not running from this thing. We're going to stay here. It's probably just the kids up on the ridge. So I told her, I understand why you're scared, Brenda, but we can't just leave. This is our home. We need to figure out what's going on here, and we have to stop it. Dusty was on the phone call in and out while we talked, and Dusty had said, I was scared too. He said, I didn't like the scratching at my window, and I asked my mom and my dad, could I please get a dog to protect us? Kind of goes with what Scott Carpenter said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then Bill says, I told Dusty that we would get him a dog. So the next day, we went and got a rat terrier at the shelter to make him feel more at home. I thought it would make him feel better. I thought it would make him feel secure in his room to have a little buddy there with him that would bark and protect him. So Bill and Brenda said they went to bed that night, and I told Brenda that I was sure that there was some campers up on the ridge that was probably messing with us. I would hike out the next morning, and I would go speak to them. The next morning, I got up, Brenda stated, and I started making Bill what we call a rough pack for the day. I put him food in it. I put him extra clothes in it for dry clothes in case he accidentally got wet. I put him some coffee in it, survival food, and a meal for he could stop because the hike sometimes out there in Colorado, she said, can be strenuous and they can take a lot of time to traverse the mountains. Mm-hmm. So before I go on to the actual hike, is there anything y'all would like to say about? He's now preparing to go up on this mountain and talk to these kids that are camping up there that is messing with them.
Perhaps this is a mistake.
I don't know. I'm kind of wondering if the kids have had any experiences out there, or if there's even any kids out there.
Do you think that I don't think personally, and I thought about this, I don't think it's that out of the ordinary to do that because I think I may even do that. You know, if I thought it was kids, I'd be like, I'll go up there and talk to them, you know. They're, you know, just go up and tell them, hey guys, knock it off. You're scaring my kids, you know. I understand y'all are kids, you're having fun, you know. Because you got to have to, you know, remember, they don't believe these things exist. They think that they don't exist. Hello, Figgy, good to see you. I couldn't catch your name for it popped up. So I think they're still trying to rationalize what's going on. He's trying to keep his family not to be afraid. I'm going to take care of the problem, you know. I'm going to man up. And I'm going to go up here and I'm going to take care of the problem. I'm going to go tell these kids to knock it off.
That'll work.
So he is preparing for this hike. She has made him his bag. Bill says, I started out early hiking to the top of the ridge. I figured I would find some teens up there camping and partying. I had been hiking for a while and I finally reached the top of the ridge where I had seen the first person that I waved at. I had finally reached that area. I noticed something that bothered me right away. There was some limbs and grass there that had made a blind, but the blind faced down toward our farm. The snow around it was gone as if someone was spending a lot of time in there watching our farm.
Uh oh, that's not good.
So whatever's down there has now made a blind, like a hunting blind, to hide behind, to be able to, if you will, spy on their home.
Got some stalkers.
I started to look around, Bill stated, looking for anything that I could find. And I noticed there was small rodent bones everywhere. Rabbit bones, rat bones, you name it, it was almost there. Like something has been sitting there feasting and watching us. The thing is, there was no fire pit, and the meat left on the bones was still raw.
Hmm.
There was a trail that led into the trees, and I knew I would have to follow it to find the teenagers.
And the fact that he thinks it's still teenagers. Ouch.
Yeah. Maybe, you know, he's thinking that these kids are up there maybe hunting and that's where they clean their animals and they just left the, you know, the extra parts there and they took the most of the meat with them.
No.
Or is he still trying to maybe make himself feel better about it?
Well,
Because he is, you know, he is alone up there.
Did he not get a dog? Where's his dog at that he supposedly got? That might have been, you know,
a rat
might want a dog.
terrier. That's not
Yeah, well,
too much.
he left the rat terrier with Dusty, so he would feel safe.
Oh well, a rat terrier's not going to do.
It
That's
might
a
slow
spooky
it down
snack.
for a minute while it ate it.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, those things can ignore things. I've got a dog that'll go out and bark at them, and they just look at me and give me go to hell looks as my dog is like 3 feet away barking at them, and they just shake their heads at me. While my dog is barking at them. So you know,
Yeah.
the dogs know where they're at all times. If my dog is barking at night, I know they're sensing something that probably shouldn't be there, and I pay
Yeah.
attention to that. Dogs can see and detect the supernatural. They can see into that realm.
Cats too.
Makes sense.
I believe cats can also speak into the supernatural. I do believe. The Egyptians worshipped the cats. They thought the cats were the guardians of the doorway to and from the other world.
Well, my cats
Yeah,
are
cats are.
guardians of the food bowl, but other than that,
Oh, my cats are like bottomless black holes. They love to eat. I mean, you just cannot. I don't care how much they eat; they'll still hungry. You can feed them a 3 course meal, and they'll be asking 5 minutes later for more. They're like, "Give me food or give me death."
All right, guys. This part is where I know you all are going to have a lot of opinions, and this is where you're going to have to start making some of your theories now, because we're fixing to go into what I call the good part. This is where I think we
okay.
start getting a lot of clues, a lot of good clues.
Okay.
So he notices a trail that leads away from this blind, but this trail leads kind of up the hill on the mountain, and it's a well used trail. It's not like a little trail, it's been well used, so he knows it. Now, these kids found a party spot, and the reason he thinks that, he says, is because when he turns around, there is a Budweiser bottle laying on the ground that still had partial beer in it. So he
Okay.
said, that kind of eased my mind. I found some beer. I know somebody's been up here drinking, probably maybe even poaching. Something is going on.
And that eased his mind?
Well, it's not a creature. He's
Uh,
dealing with some kids. He thinks.
okay. Okay.
As I was walking down the trail, I could smell like the odor of rot. As I made my way down the trail, I seen something shining laying on the ground. This is where my stomach pitted almost into a knot. It was one of those where a dog was about to attack you and you was in somebody's fence and you knew that there was no way out. That was the feeling I had. As I reached down to pick up the shiny object on the ground, I noticed what it was immediately. It was one of Dusty's toys.
Uh-oh.
At that moment, I became angry and I started walking faster. And that is when I seen the cave in front of me. Just as I seen the opening of the cave, I heard that howl. It was not a face that I saw, and I did not see the creature, but I heard a howl. And when I heard the howl, there was a clearing around the front of the cave, but there was also a tree line and bushes that circled the perimeter of the cave. I was wearing my camo, of course, and I had brought with me my all-weather 4570 rifle and my all-weather 357 Magnum that I always carried in the mountains. I ducked and hid behind some trees and a bush, and I watched the cave for the arrival of the either poachers or, at this point, I'm thinking even feral people are living up here in this cave. So I, quietly as I can and as slowly as I can, I run the lever of my 4570, placing a bullet into the chamber. And if anybody does not know what a 4570 is, that is all the gun he will need for just about anything up there. So
It's a big round. That'll kill a bear for sure. You can take a bear with that.
he says, that is when I seen him. A large man walked out of the cave wearing a black fur, and it still has the large snout of the animal on it. This was a very large man, larger than any man I'd ever seen, until it turned and faced me and I noticed it had breasts. This was a female, and this was the largest female I had ever seen. This thing was massive. And then, as it was standing there, 2 young kids ran out dressed exactly the same way. They were sniffing the air and walking around. I was downwind and I knew that I should be okay. They then walked back into the cave and I could see one of them kind of milling around outside like it was playing with a stick. And that's whenever the large one, the female, walks outside, makes 3 weird, short howls followed by a whistle into the air. And she grabs the 2 younger ones and takes them inside of the cave. I noticed a few minutes after that, I smelt what smelt like something burning.
Hmm.
And I was astonished that there was smoke coming from the top of the cave. These feral people had built a fire inside of their cave. They then walked around the outside of the cave for about 10 minutes, doing their little howls and chirps, I would call it, like chirps. And then I hear the howl that we had all heard before, the long, crazy howl that me and my wife had heard that we had talked about in the bedroom. We hear the long howl from beyond the cave. And I hunkered even lower, hoping that they wouldn't see me. I was terrified. And about 10 minutes after that, 3 large men dressed in the same black wolf attire, furs, arrived. They had a deer and some rabbits on a stick they had made to carry with them. But the difference was one of them moved a little slower, and he had a silver spot on his face, and he had a shorter, wider snout. They all went into the cave. At this time, I am so sure that I found feral people that my heart was actually racing. I for sure did not want them to see me out here spying on them. Just knowing that it wasn't an animal and that it was people, they would be smarter at attacking me and possibly injuring me on this mountain alone. What are your all's thoughts on that?
I find it interesting with the communication, and the fire strikes me as interesting because that I've never heard of a Bigfoot or a dog creature making fires. So I would probably be led to believe that they were feral people too. That's interesting. Have you guys heard of it before?
I've heard of feral people using clicks to communicate.
Well,
I have
but the
heard that they
fire,
do use clicks.
but the fire
You know,
for a Bigfoot or a Dogman.
I've heard, and the Indians say that they do build fires, and they believe that they did, but the Native Americans are more on the side of these things are not animals, that they're a human race, because they call them a clan and cannibals and a people and a tribe. And so I would say that they could. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't be able to. Oh, you all ain't seen Odd yet. This gets a lot worse, Pink Pixie.
Are you sure this
Just letting
isn't
you
some
all
kind of
know.
movie? This sounds like a movie. I mean, with all the stuff going on, it's a pretty amazing story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wait till you hear what else they go through. And I got a question for you, Randy. Does this sound like a movie, or does a movie sound like this?
Exactly. Most definitely. If
You
you
know
go
what I
back
mean?
and look at the horror movies, pretty much every monster has some real form of it in the real world.
Yep.
Let me get me a drink of water before we start this next one. It gets pretty good. I don't know if you call it good. It gets interesting from an investigator's point of view.
It's amazing this person encountered this and survived it.
He's not home yet.
Well, he's telling us the story, so I believe he survived it. He at least survived it.
Well, considering this isn't a movie, we know that somebody had to have told this story. So
it was, yeah, he survived. It was him. he survived. All right. He says, I then decided to sneak down the mountain and go back home. I started to make my way down the mountain, and I could hear what sounded like footsteps behind me. It was like something was a ways behind me, but it was following me. It was stalking me. And maybe not stalking me. Maybe it never knew I was there because of the wind. But I continued to go home, watching my back with my 45-70 tightly in my hands. When I arrived, I told Brenda that I had seen at what I had felt was feral people. She listened intently. Her expression was growing concerned, and with each passing moment, she asked, what do you think it was? She asked again, her voice barely above a whisper. And he said, I just shook my head, and I told her, I said, well, it has to be feral people, and I explained to her what I seen. And he said, Brenda nodded in agreement. And then Brenda said, when Bill walked into the house, he had this look about him. He looked afraid, and I had never seen him look this way. And when he told me what he seen, I knew that he was dealing with feral people. It just was something I had read about or seen on TV, or maybe even homeless people living in that cave. Maybe they smelled the pie that I should not have left on the windowsill, and they were so hungry that they saw opportunity to get something to eat. I mean, what human wouldn't that was starving? She says, I told Bill he should call the rangers and let them know what is going on up there. That way they could go take care of it. And you saw him with the deer, and you saw him with rabbits. This is not deer or rabbit season, so we know they're poaching, so I think we should turn it over to the authorities and let them handle it. So Bill says, I called the ranger's office and no one was there. It was after 5, so I left a message and asked him to call me back the following day. I couldn't get over how large these men were and the fact that there had been black wolves, or there had not been black wolves in this area in forever. I even spoke to other trappers and they said black wolves had been gone for a long time. Something was very odd about these people. And then Brenda said, we were asleep and I heard the chickens going nuts that night. Same night. I reached over and I woke Bill up and he jumped up and he grabbed his gun. Randy with the smile. Bill says, I ran out the door and I had turned on the floodlights. That's when I seen it. It was one of those large men wearing the furs. He had one of my white hens under his arm. I couldn't see real well against his jet black furs he was wearing, but it was well enough that I could shoot him. And I yelled, let that chicken go, you MFing thief. It looked at me and I fired right over its head, missing it on purpose. I didn't want to kill some man. It dropped the chicken and it ran, making a whistling noise that it continued to do all the way up the ridge. Its thing is whistling all the way up the ridge. And he said, the only thing that I could think of is why in the hell is this thing whispering when I just shot at it? I would think somebody would be screaming instead of running and whistling.
Right.
So he said, I went out and I checked my chicken house to make sure there wasn't nobody else hiding in it. And whenever I got to the chicken house, I noticed that my damn chicken was gone. It had picked my chicken back up and took it, even after I'd shot at it and it dropped it.
It wanted that chicken for dinner.
Then he said, I got even more angry when I noticed the chicken that it took was my hen that I had sitting. Oh, I was pissed, he said. So pissed I fired 3 more 45-70s up into the mountain in the direction it ran. Just for anybody listening, I do not recommend doing that. Um, if you hit somebody running away from you like that, you're going to face a lot of charges. So, just to let you know that that is not the behavior that you would want to demonstrate in a situation from somebody running from you with a chicken. You don't want to shoot them with a buffalo gun.
That's hunter safety 101.
Yeah. So while I was checking my chickens, I noticed that the door was open and the chickens were everywhere. And I was still pissed that he took my damn setting hen. And the door was opened, which would take an opposable thumb to open. And the eggs that she was setting on were all cracked and had been slurped down by this sick individual. So it came in, ate all the eggs, sucked the eggs, grabbed the chicken, and now is hauling butt up the hill with his sitting hen. I'm thinking that's the same thing he heard following him back that day.
Probably.
It may not have known he was there, but it was on its way back there anyways because now they found an easy food source.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Randy?
I agree with you totally. He
Yeah.
shouldn't have got their attention and lead them back to his house. Now he's got to deal with the consequences of his
I
actions.
agree, Terminator. Yep,
Well,
I agree, Terminator.
they were already watching him, right?
Yeah,
But
I
they
think that probably they're a little agitated now. He's been at their house.
and he was shooting at them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
several
know what
times.
firearms are. They're not stupid. They know what a weapon is.
Yeah.
How many stories when somebody was
So
pointing a firearm at and they get told no, not to shoot them? These things are highly intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
right.
And I do believe they have long-term memories of if you piss them off, they can just bide their time and come and get you whenever they want, when you least expect it.
Yeah.
He says, so I went in the house, and everyone was awakened now because of the gun blasts that I had just let off. 4570 is not quiet. I told I told Brenda that what had happened. The dog we had was already up and barking, making making Dusty feel protected. He said, "Look, Dad, he's protecting me." And he said, we all just smiled and said, yes, he loves you. He's protecting you. You're safe. Because the gunshots had startled the child because, I mean, he's out there with pretty much a cannon, boom, boom, boom in the dark. So he said,
A little bitty dog.
the dog, yeah, he said, so the dog needed to go outside. The dog was trained to go outside to use the restroom. Up where they live, it's cold, and they didn't always want their child outside in the cold. So what they done, he said, they had like a chest sitting beside the front door, like a big chest, like a pirate chest. He kept all of his hunting gear in it. He said it was super heavy. So what he done is he had a 25-foot rope with this snatch on it, to latching. And he said we would latch it on him, and then we would latch it to the chest and then close the door up to the rope and let the dog go out and do his business. He just had 25 feet. So he said the little dog we had named Jack went to the door. We closed the door, but left enough space for him to pull the door that was tied to his chest so that he could go outside and do his little business. And while we're sitting there talking, we're all laughing, and all of a sudden the dog yips and the rope starts flying out the door. I mean, this rope is moving like the dog is in a dead run. I grabbed the door and I couldn't even stop it I grabbed the rope and it burned my hand. Then the rope in my hand again. I ripped my shirt off, wrapped it around the rope. I grabbed the rope and I pulled it as if a fisherman setting the hook. I was trying to stop the dog. And the next thing I know, the rope pulls through my hands, reaches the end of the rope, hits the chest flies across the front room, the lamps that were on it bust in the floor, and now the chest is stuck at the door, raising up and down. It's tilting up and down, rocking and bouncing. Everybody's scared. The child now is screaming and bawling. Nobody knows what's going on. He said, I finally get the chest moved, drag the door shut, and latch it and secure it while grabbing my 357 Magnum. Brenda says, I grabbed Dusty and I ran to the room with him to our bedroom, shut the door, locked it, and grabbed my 44 Magnum that my husband had bought me for Christmas. So do y'all want to add anything right now before we go on?
Continue.
Anything that I say is not. I'm pretty upset right now that they would even think to let a dog out on a rope after they've been experiencing this stuff that took their chickens. But hey, I'm an animal lover.
It was almost like they were jug fishing. I mean, you know, I mean, it was kind of like it was kind of like using the dog for bait. I mean, you put the dog out like that. I mean, what do you expect to happen, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yummy, yummy.
About it too. Yeah,
Yummy.
After when I was with him on the phone, he laughed about it. You know, he's like, you think about it after it happened, and you're like, yeah, that was a dumb idea. We shouldn't have done that. You know, he's like, we kind of used the dog for bait. You know? And he laughed. He's like, but we've learned our lessons since.
Well, hopefully they weren't too attached to him.
Well, Bill
they didn't
says,
have
I got the. Yeah.
What?
Well, Bill that rope.
Bill says, I got the door open and I had my pistol. The rope had fallen slack. I ran to the end, and when I reached the end, all there was Jack's body. His head was gone. I was so upset, and now this night had just got worse. I started crying, knowing this was really going to upset our little baby boy. Bill, we all got calmed down and went to bed. It's like 4 a.m. I am so excited now for the ranger to call me in the morning so we can end this nightmare. We're pissed, we can't sleep, and our little dog just got stretched across the yard. While we were sleeping, Brenda and I both awoke to glass shattering and Dusty screaming for help. I jumped up and grabbed my pistol. We ran to his room as fast as we could, Brenda following me. I was the first one in there, and when I opened Dusty's door, I saw something that no parent should ever have to see. It was halfway in Dusty's window, and it had its hands on Dusty's legs trying to grab him. I couldn't shoot. Dusty was in the way. It was too dangerous. I ran, and I was yelling some really bad words, and that's when I noticed something that made me literally, and this is what he said, shit my pants.
That totally
What I noticed that made me spoil my pants was this was not furs. These effing things' eyes are moving and their mouth is moving. The face is moving. These are werewolves. These are not feral people. These are not furs. These are living, breathing werewolves. There is a monster in my son's room that is not supposed to exist. I shot my pistol up into the air, and it jumped out of the window, and it ran away into the darkness, and it started howling. My son is hysterical at this point. He's crying. begging for his mama. She takes him to the room, shuts the door, and locks it. I was angry. I went to the back door, and when I did, I heard what sounded like a puppy whimpering.
Mm-mm.
I'm going to stop right there and let y'all give your opinions before we conclude this encounter. The next part will conclude the encounter.
Well, they've already exposed themselves to them in the aspect that they know what they've now seen. I don't understand why they're whimpering now to I mean, I always attributed that to trying to lure you out. So, because at that point, I wouldn't be going anywhere at dark.
This escalated quickly.
Hmm.
I wonder what caused this to escalate so quickly.
I think it was the firing at them and shooting at them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that pissed them off,
Uh huh.
and that is for vengeance.
Uh huh.
And I think you guys are right. I think that what you're talking about is true because I think that's also the reason that it took the dog. It was pissed off.
Hmm.
And the chicken, it was their prized chicken, and they took that just to be mean as hell because these things, they're evil.
Man, I know
They're
some
gonna do.
people like that.
Yeah, I know a few of them. Lying bastards. That's all they do. Um, amongst other things. The conclusion of this story really surprised me when I talked to him. And I hope you all enjoy this. Do not leave the chat after the story, guys. We're doing a free giveaway tonight. So just so you know, to be able to be eligible for the giveaway, you have to be a member of the channel or a member of the Patreon. And what we're going to try to do is every month, at least once, we're going to do a free giveaway to the members of the channel or Patreon. And as time goes on and we start getting more members and stuff, maybe we can do a free giveaway weekly. So we're going to see where this goes. It's just something we all discussed and we want to try and see how it goes. So if you're interested and you're a member, your name is in green, then you are eligible tonight to be a winner. So it'll happen after the encounter and after we give our last thoughts on this. So what do you think of that idea, Randy?
Sounds good.
Randy's ready for the end of this conclusion.
Yeah, you got me interested. I want to hear the rest of the story. Too bad the
All
dog
right.
lost his, you know.
I was wondering
That's
if he told his son
Yeah.
that the head fell off, like, in Dumb and Dumber, the bird that had his head fall off.
Pretty bird.
Sorry. Okay,
So
serious.
he says, I was so angry about my son just being attacked. I was out for blood, Mike. I'll be honest. Man or beast, it was going to end tonight. It had already broken into our house. It had physically assaulted my son. It was time for it to stop. I went out the back door, and when I did, I heard a puppy whimpering. And that's whenever I looked, and the large ones that I had seen at the cave were standing at the edge of the wood line, staring at me. These were not furs. These are werewolves, and they are standing there looking at me, snapping their mouths like an angry hog. The one with the silver face I had seen had a hold of the one that was in my son's window, which happened to be one of the smaller ones I had seen. It's just you people do not understand the size of these things. Even the small ones are large. And whenever I saw the one, it was in my son's window, and the one at the chicken house, at how large he was nothing compared to the other three he was standing by at the wood line. The one with the silver on his face had reached out and had grabbed the one that was in my son's room and had him by the nape of the neck like a mama dog would carry her baby. And it was the one yipping while the silver-faced beast held him at the back of his neck, 3 to 4 feet off of the ground with one arm. And I'm talking, these youngsters, Mike, are not youngsters as people are probably thinking. This is a 300 or 400-pound creature, and this other one's holding him with one arm extended by the back of the neck like he's nothing. He's whimpering and he's crying like a puppy. He says he sounds just like a puppy. And I must say, they were not animals. They were not human. They were both, Mike. They were werewolves. No effing doubt. I couldn't believe what was going on in my mind. I knew for sure something bad was about to happen. This was going to be the standoff. I raised my 4570 and turned on the laser sight I have on it. And I racked a shell into it. And that's whenever something happened that will carry on with me the rest of my life that I will pass down to all my generations. It held its hand up into the air and it said, "Howl," like an Indian offering peace.
Ooh, that gave me chills.
The one that offered peace was the one with the silver face. You could tell he was the leader. Mike, he was using a stick for a cane. The words he said were no doubtingly "how." He said a few other words in native language I did not know what he was saying. The other two, you could tell, were warrior werewolves as they were prepared to fight no matter what was going to happen at this point. They were ready for peace or they were ready to rush me. I lowered my weapon and I laid it on the porch, knowing that I may be able to take one, but in the rush I would never be able to take all three. And my family would be shredded in our house like that poor family was at the LBL everybody talks about, except for this would happen inside of a home instead of an RV. I laid the weapon down, and that's whenever two of the creatures started walking toward me. They had their hands behind their back. I thought they were going to kill me, but I knew better than to fight them. I was outnumbered and definitely outmuscled. They walked halfway between me and my porch, and one removed his hand from behind his back, and he laid a set of elk horns on the ground that had pretty rocks tied to them. Another one from behind his back pulled out a string of rabbits they had tied with vines that were skinned and prepared, and he laid them across the horns. They turned, walked back to the leader, and then the leader walked forward. And when the leader walked forward, he placed a turtle shell in the middle that had rocks in it for like a rattle. They turned with the one in hand, and they walked into the darkness. We could no longer see them. They were no longer visible. But a fight broke loose, a massive fight. It sounded like something was being shredded, and I have no doubt, as one was screaming and yelping until there was the loud sound of what sounded like a 2x4 snapping and then dead silence. The sun was coming up at about this time. The next morning, I spoke with the ranger. They arrived at our home. They went to check the cave out, And whenever they come back to give us the news, this is what they reported. They said that there had been some poachers staying there for sure, but they had moved on. They said there was nothing left there, just a few old pelts that looked like they used to lay on the ground. The rangers asked me over and over, which I thought was very peculiar. Are you sure that's all you've seen? Are you sure that's all you would like to report? As they would ask me over and over and over. And I told them, that's all I have to report. That was the only thing that I seen. And one of the rangers, under his breath, walking away, mumbled, making sure that I could hear him. Well, I'm glad that's all you seen, because a guy on the other side of the mountain, he almost said he was seeing the same thing as you. And, well, because of the creatures he saw, something had happened, or he had went crazy or something, but he ended up killing his family and burning their home down. So I'm glad that's all you saw. Have a good day. He said, Mike, I'm not even going to speculate what I thought about that encounter, but I think that you'll have a good idea. Thank you for sharing this encounter.
Amazing. Amazing.
I think it's interesting that they pushed and pushed, and then when they realized he was about ready to stand his ground and say enough's enough, that's when they decided to call peace.
It sounds
Or
like
was it that?
my guess. Can I say something? It sounds like
Sure.
the one that broke into the home and laid his hands on the child didn't have permission to do that, and it violated some rule or regulation. When the man didn't shoot, they punished him, perhaps even killed that one, because he broke some law that we don't know about. Evidently, there's rules and regulations governing these creatures on who and how they can kill on when it comes to humans. I believe there's rules of engagement that they have to follow.
When they're in clans or family groups, the rogue ones not so much. But I wonder if that loud like crack was the juvenile getting his neck snapped or something for acting up. I don't know.
It's almost
Possibly.
like the whole problem, it sounds like, was kind of the juveniles causing the trouble. Maybe the werewolves looked at it as, if you all would have never went to their home, stole the chickens, and done everything you did, they would have never came to our house and tried to find out who we were and what we were doing. We lived in peace here for this long, and now you've brought the humans to us. The rangers are going to be showing up, and you've endangered the whole family. I mean, we're going to be hunted down now because now you've tried to take a human child. And it makes me wonder, is that why a lot of our human childs go missing? Is it the adults that are the adult ones taking the human childs? Or is it these juveniles that are taking our children? Is
It
it the
always seems
curiosity, you know?
it always seems like it's the juveniles. It goes back to them dang kids. I mean, it's their curiosity. They're messing with. I mean, how many times have you heard story upon story, whether no matter if it's the Bigfoot or the Dogman or whatever it is, it always seems like it's the kids that are screwing around, causing havoc, and sooner or later the parent comes around and is, setting them straight, and things kind of settle down. But yeah, dang kids.
They don't want attention. They don't want people knowing that they exist. They don't want people, children coming up missing and them raising all hell because their kid's missing. They don't want attention brought to
Mhm.
themselves.
Mhm.
And another
I know
thing, you know,
from first experience,
I don't
these
know.
things they don't want to be known.
I agree.
Mhm.
I think they are they're opportunists, but the children don't have the the knowledge they do, and the children get them in trouble. Um, you know, it makes me wonder sometimes. It's like the child runs into a camp and causes trouble, and then the adults have to defend the child because that's your child. So if you get a child in camp, you get a small one in camp, and then you defend yourself against it, you may end up bringing the whole clan down on you. And
Right.
why did it use native language? That was what got me. If they can speak all of our languages, why did they choose to use native language and native hand signals, native gestures?
I have an opinion about that. For shock and awe to get her attention. If that creature would have spoken English, may not have had the impact. But the Native American language, it got his attention when he spoke. Did it not?
And he noticed
Could
it
be.
as a peace offering because of the howl and the hand gesture, that they didn't come to battle. And I think they did. I think they came as a peace offering. I think it was a peace offering. I think that, here's you some food for what we done. This is for the chickens. Here's, this rack, and the rocks on it, whatever that would symbolize. I'd be interested to look that up and see if that even symbolizes anything in native culture. That might be something to
Did
look
he
up.
keep, question, did he keep the rocks or did he throw them away?
Nope. He said it is hanging in his front room.
Mm. I wonder what you can learn by studying that, what they left behind.
Hmm. Yeah.
It would make you almost think that it was either a symbolism from a native tribe, or maybe a symbolism from their tribe, from the werewolf tribe. Maybe that's their symbolism. You know, maybe it means something to them because, I mean, I would say the juvenile is the one that took off with the dog. Um, because he said that rope was smoking out of the front door. He said it's like you had
I
hooked a large
bet.
flathead. I mean, he said it was smoking. So, I mean, and those little dogs are not afraid. So the little dog probably went after whatever it was. And if you have a small dog, I think they can be the best line of defense because they will bark and they will alert you in your home to what's going on. But don't put them outside. Not a little dog, anyways.
I think the
Yeah.
thing took its head off just to shut it up because those little yappers make a lot of noise.
Yeah, they are loud. And it probably looked
Mm.
at it as an alarm. It was like, he's going to give me away. He's going to give my location away. And
The smoking rope going out the door isn't a key factor,
yeah,
but
I mean,
It looks like
that's
he hooked a
terrible.
big one.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is that's bad. Does anybody? And I'm going to go ahead and throw this open before we do the giveaway. Does anybody in our chat tonight? Do you have a short encounter you would like to share? We'll do an open mic real quick. I feel like throwing somebody on here. If somebody has a short encounter they'd like to share, if you do, just put it in capital letters. I will throw you the link. If not, we will move on to the giveaway. Yeah, I'm not sure probably what they told the child. I'm sure they will have to not tell him exactly what happened.
Yeah, I'm sure they told them about their dog, being beheaded by a werewolf. I'm sure that went over well.
Yeah. He probably
Yeah.
wouldn't be sleeping in his bedroom, but he may not now. I mean, with it coming through the window trying to grab him, I mean, I'm sure that he's probably not sleeping alone right now. I
Well,
mean,
Speaking of,
did
I
the whole
wouldn't want
family
to as an
actually witness
adult.
this, or was it? Did the
I
whole
mean, can
family
you
actually
wake up
wit?
with your window grabbing you?
No.
speaking of
In the whole what?
giveaways, Can y'all hear me? I'm getting lag here. Can y'all hear
Yeah,
me?
I can hear
Sorry
you.
about that. Go ahead, Jess.
Did the whole family actually witness the peace offering and that what had taken place, or was it just him?
Him and Brenda.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if
Yeah,
his
the
son
little one
saw
was
it.
in the bedroom, their bedroom, because their bedroom doesn't have any windows for some reason. He said their
Okay.
bedroom does not have windows. That maybe they should switch bedrooms with the child. Maybe they should take the bedroom with the window and put him in the bedroom without the window.
Probably a
They
good idea.
they can sense you wherever you're at in the house. Like that one time, Mike, you had your windows covered up, and those things could follow you around when you're moving around the house. I've experienced the same thing with our windows covered up. These things walk around and they'll follow you around on the outside wherever you go. I don't know if it's super hearing or if it's their senses of smell, but they can detect you wherever you're at inside that house from personal experience.
I'm sure
Yeah,
they
I
have
agree.
better hearing than even our animals have. I mean, I I don't know how many times, like growing up, our dogs would know when they would hear the vehicles coming down the road before we would even know that the vehicles were coming down the road and know who it was. Like if it was my mom coming home or my dad coming home, he would know the sounds. They would know the dogs would know the sounds of the vehicles and would get all excited and knew.
Yep,
Most
our dogs
definitely.
do that.
I had a pet wolf, and one day I'm coming home. I'm between two semi trucks. I got about a mile from the house, and I was on the phone talking to my wife, and my wolf started howling. And I was between two semi trucks. My pet wolf from a mile away could tell my Ford Ranger in the middle of two semi trucks. Now, how can they do that?
They've got
That's
good hearing. Yeah.
they got really good hearing. Now, imagine a super apex predator, how much better their hearing and senses would be.
Yep.
You
Heck
don't know
yeah.
what your message is when you're playing with these things. They're
Yep.
much stronger than us, and they're highly intelligent. You're not
Yep.
going to outthink them thinking that they're a normal animal because they are not a normal animal. If they were, you could track the damn things to where they sleep. You can study their habits. You can't track these things because they're not a normal animal. My
Right.
opinion, based on the evidence.
Right.
And like what Herbert has a great point. Herbert says, "My concern is what happens when the leader dies and the new leader takes over."
Maybe that's why things change and escalate and for other areas when they say that they haven't had any issues and they've lived there for years and years and all of a sudden something's coming around. Maybe that's why. Maybe there was some
The new
No,
leader.
agreement with the previous owners and yeah, now there's a new leader. I don't know.
Then
I mean,
the new
just a
leader
thought.
comes up and says, "One time, whenever I was a juvenile, I ate this little dog and it was scrumptious. So now we're going to start eating rat terriers."
how long do these creatures live? Do we know exactly? We have stories, but do we have actual evidence or information on how long these creatures could live? I don't
No.
know.
No, I don't.
They
No,
could
no,
be
we wouldn't.
some of them. They could be hundreds of years old. They could live for hundreds of years. We do not know how long their lifespan is.
Right.
I believe personally that they live a lot longer than us, just based on the creature that my mom and them seen as children, and it being what they would believe to be a full adult, and it continuing through their whole lives, through my whole life. I mean, and still moving and jumping and running with grace. So, I mean, they have to outlive us. And again, I believe that's the angelic part that is pushed down, that gives them that long, and that I think that has a lot to do with the noises they're allowed to make. When we're boots on the ground, and I thought about this, and Wednesday night this will be running in my mind when I'm boots on the ground. You're out there, and if these beings, as we believe, are Nephilim and they have angelic powers passed down to them, or abilities or attributes, however you want to say it, and we know Satan, had instruments inside of him, and we can, metaphorically say that could be his, It was how he sung so good, right? So if that is true and that was passed down, what if what we're catching on the EVPs is not actually EVPs? What if we're actually catching these creatures talking to each other in a higher or lower pitch that we're not able to hear, but it is an EVP, but it's not a spirit? It's actually them being able to communicate on a sound level we're not able to speak or hear, because they have this ability to be able to do that, because the Bible states clearly that he had instruments inside of him like no other. And if that was his vocal cords, and these creatures have remnants of the DNA of it, it's very possible that they are able to make noises that we cannot, and to hear noises we cannot. So you're walking out there in the woods, and just because you're not hearing something doesn't mean they're not following you having a conversation.
Right.
And what we do here, I think it's because they allow us to hear, but you could also theorize that maybe they're not allowing us to hear it. Maybe not all of them have the same attributes. Some of them may not be able to do that. So we have to say it loud. So, Billy Bob over there, he can't hear like us. So we have to say it where he can hear it. It makes you wonder a whole lot of things. And it just gives you something to think about when you're in the woods and when you're investigating. Is they might be all around you talking and you don't know what they're talking about. Hey, he's coming your way. Hey, get his attention. He's getting too close to me. Draw him your way. Or if he takes another step, this is his last night.
But if they have the ability to do the mind speak thing, why would they need to talk in a higher or a different tone? And then how does that explain the calls from large distances that you
Because
hear?
they may not all have that gift. It could be like a parent gives birth, to two kids. One boy may end up being 6'6", 230 pounds, have great ability to play sports. The other can be shorter, heavier, and have more of a, he wants to read books. They both have their own abilities that are passed down from their parents, but not everybody gets the same attributes. So we're looking at like the Iliad version of the watered down Nephilim. It's not going to be perfect every time, but some are going to get it and some aren't going to get it. So in order to be able to make sure everybody hears it, you go audible to where everybody hears it. And then you have your special ones, your, maybe as the Bible says, your higher ranked demons. There is levels of demons. So your ones that are stronger, they have that ability to mind speak, to talk above and below what we can hear. So maybe when we go out on these investigations, maybe it's possible that when we hear vocalizations, we're not dealing with the higher ups. And then whenever you go out on ones that are really bad nights, maybe you're dealing with, the worst ones.
Hmm.
Just a theory.
Put a pin in it.
Just a theory.
It's an interesting theory, Mike. I think you got something there with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like what Herbert says, there may have been different type of werewolves. I agree. I don't think they're all the same, but I think they all come from the same thing. I think you're dealing with that spider web.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Randy. Tonight, you're the man. Anybody in green tonight is opened to winning a free jar of our barbecue sauce. It has to be a person in green, Randy, and I am going to let you pick the first winner tonight. If you all want to participate in the giveaways, you'll have to be a member of either this or Patreon, and we will pick a new winner every time. And you can't be the same winner until we get everybody that wins. I'm going to keep a list. But Randy, pick our first winner tonight, and all the winner has to do is send me your address in the email, and we will get it shipped out to you.
Are you going to give everybody a chance to chime in and say something so that, in case we miss anybody that's not here?
Well, we first need to find out who all is participating. So if you're in green, we need you to sound off in chat, and then I guess we're going to do count up how many people there, and we're going to do a random number thing, and we'll do it that way.
You want to do a random number?
What do we need? Just me pick a number between something and something and let them guess? How you want to do this, Mike?
I think we could, I think we could do that. Yeah, I think that would work.
However you want to do it, it doesn't matter to me.
We can do a number, or you can just pick somebody.
Do moderators count? Because I think Pink Pixie is kind of wondering.
Well, I don't want to pick somebody.
Moderators are going to get stuff anyway.
Okay.
So yeah, they really don't have to worry. It's,
Okay.
I'm just going to pick a number randomly, and then let them try to guess a number. It's between like 1 and 100. So.
Woo.
All right, everybody, start guessing. Remember, start guessing.
The closest to the number that I'm picking is the winner. So pick a random number between 1 and 100.
Okay.
And always 47. Okay.
Are you going to give clues like higher or lower?
No, I've already got a winner. Scared Silly, the number was 50. Scared Silly's only 3 off.
Ooh.
Scared Silly.
Was there anybody else who hasn't voted? If I have so, then I'll have to pick another number. I guess I said that too soon.
Well, Pink Pixie's a moderator, so that's...
Yeah, she'll end up getting something anyways. So Scared Silly will be
47.
Our first one. All right, Scared Silly, you are the first one. Everybody that is a member, though, that's in green, every time we do this, our goal is to at least give everybody something eventually, so you will eventually win. That's the goal. We want everybody to at least win something. Herbert's got it. He's right there. Everybody lock your doors and windows tonight for sure. But Scared Silly, email me your address, and we will get that shipped out to you. I think you probably have my email. Email me your address. If you're not, Randy can throw the email out for you. I think he's got all the links and stuff, I think, on his water-cooled computer. So
hi, techie.
You get the job done. Just be patient while I'm looking for the link.
And when's the next show, Mike?
Computer's acting up. Our internet's acting up.
Uh-oh.
The next show is tomorrow. Wide Open Adventures, our outdoor channel. Randy and Jesse will join me and Josh. We're going to talk about what's coming up on that show, what we're going to be going after this spring coming up. It's going to be a fun show. It's going to be a little bit of a different atmosphere. Randy, if you could please, sir, would you put Wide Open Adventures link out there? And also tomorrow night, if you want to win at some barbecue sauce, come over to Wide Open Adventures. We're going to do a giveaway tomorrow night on that live also. So you got a chance to win tomorrow night also if you're a member.
And then Chickadee said, how do you become members on YouTube? So Chickadee, all you actually need to do is, because you're already subscribed, then when you open up YouTube, there is a join tab right next to the logo, and you click join and sign up to become a member.
And eventually the plan is to get all of our members to win something. That way they will all have won something. So Scared Silly is our first winner. Don't forget Wednesday night, guys, we will be Boots on the Ground. That will be our next live on this channel. Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. I'll be Boots on the Ground. Randy's ready for that one, I know. And we're going to go out and see what we can. He's ready. He's been ready for Boots on the Ground.
Happy birthday, Beverly.
Yep. Happy birthday, Beverly.
Happy
All
birthday,
right,
Beverly.
Jess. You want to start walking us out of this one? I hope you all enjoyed this breakdown tonight. And if you want more of these breakdowns, just let me know because I have people sending them in left and right, and we can continue to do them.
Well, thank you everybody for being here tonight. We appreciate you. We would not be here if you were not here. So God bless. Thank you so much for your support. Hope everybody has a great night, great week coming up, and hope you all stay safe, healthy, and well. Good night.
Given the people who shared the stories tonight, amazingly, wow, mind blowing. I loved it. Thank you very much. To the Abnormal family, we couldn't do a show without you. We appreciate each and every one of you showing up tonight. Thank you so much for supporting the Abnormal Investigation channel. The Abnormal Investigation channel, shining a light into the darkness, revealing the truth about the real world we live in. Good night, and don't let the werewolves bite.
That may really end up happening Wednesday night. Yeah, I want to thank everybody for showing up. It's good to see OCST in here. OCST Harold, Christy, hello to you guys. Good to always see you guys. I want to say another quick shout out. Chris Cyrus over at the Venomous Fringe, guys. Go check him out. Really nice guy. I think he's really going to go far. I look forward to working with him, having him back. Blake Dusher is going to be coming on the show in April. Another really good friend, another very smart individual that has a lot of great information. Guys, I believe we're at the beginning of building a good community here. That is what I feel. That is my goal. Let's get rid of the drama. Let's get rid of the trolls. Let's get rid of the demonic stuff. Let's have a community that's working together, that is focused on growing together. Let's find the truth. Let's have our lives. Let's have our big shows. Let's have our get-togethers. I'm wanting to have a Squatch camp. Let's all work together, guys. Let's share our information and let's find out what these are. Let's stop trying to tear each other down and start lifting each other up. Let's find the answer. That's what I want to know. I want to know, what are they? Where are they? Why do they do what they do? Guys, everybody here tonight is awesome. We enjoy our subscribers. Without you, we could not do this. Hunter, I love you. You are my best friend in the whole wide world. I'm sorry that all these lies have affected you the way they have, and God will make it right. Guys, until next time, keep your head on a swivel. Don't be something's dinner. And we'll see you Wednesday night at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time when we go out and get our boots a little dirty. See you on the next one, guys.
Good night.
Good night.
And make it purple and green for Hunter and Logan. Don't forget those hearts. They love them. Good night.